Let's take you directly to Buckingham Palace, where King Charles III is there in view, as you can see, and that's, of course, for the South African state visit to the United Kingdom. Let's take you to that. Our colleague Mzwandile Mbeje is on scene. Mzwandile, I hope you can hear me. Just tell me what you're seeing and feeling and smelling right there at Buckingham Palace. All right, well, Mzwandile Mbeje can't hear me at the moment, but in short there, of course, is King Charles III and the Queen Consort Camilla, his wife, and they're chatting with an officer there. And of course, this is just ahead of proceedings as the UK formally celebrates the visit of President Ramaphosa and his team. They're on the Buckingham Palace grounds where guards of honor are in place, ready to proceed with the pomp and ceremony of the occasion. So there we've just heard some music from the Horse Guards parade. They have basically officially opened the ceremonial session that's taking place on the grounds of Buckingham Palace. Of course, King Charles III and his wife, Queen Consort Camilla, are there in sight, but we can't see President Ramaphosa, but he is there on site. Unfortunately, my colleague Mzwandile Mbeje is not able to commentate over the visuals, so I will do my best. Of course, this is the first head of state, that is President Ramaphosa, to visit the United Kingdom on a state visit since King Charles III took over the reins in September following the death of Queen Elizabeth II. So he is going to be consorting with the king and his wife, and of course members of the state, the government are there. We see Prime Minister Rishi Sunak also was in shot earlier. The pomp and ceremony is going to continue. No doubt the Horse Guards parade will continue to play an ensemble of tunes, and of course they'll be showing us their royal moves. Okay, as we see from those shots, President Ramaphosa arriving on the grounds. You can see the South African flag there atop of that vehicle. No doubt the president is in that vehicle, and of course proceedings about to begin as he consorts with the welcoming party, that is King Charles III and Queen Consort Camilla and the rest of the British state that is there represented. As you can see behind him are Prince William, the son of King Charles III. He was welcomed at the beginning of the proceedings by William and his wife Kate, and now he's in the hands of King Charles III and Queen Consort Camilla.
Guard of honor! Royal salute! Present! Arms!
too late. And King Charles III inspecting the guard alongside the playing of music, and now it looks as though they're going to be taken in horse and carriage. I'm not sure where, but they are about to enter those horse and carriages. So it seems as though that horse and carriage is heading to Lancaster House, where President Ramaphosa will engage with King Charles III. It seems as though at around 3:20 South African time, the King and Queen Consort will be displaying or showing President Ramaphosa a display of the royal collection that relates to South Africa. That will be very interesting. A lot of jewelry that comes from South Africa, no doubt. So anyway, they're going to be showing him that display. Members of the media will then be proceeding from this place, from Buckingham Palace to Lancaster House, where there'll be a photo opportunity. And then, of course, I think they're going to retire to have discussions. But the pomp and ceremony, as you can see, continues. South African and British flags aside of each other across that roadway. All right, that roadway, as I referred to it, is actually the Mall, the road that leads to Buckingham Palace. And of course, we saw many of those visuals of the Mall during the time of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral and in the run-up to her funeral. So a lot of proceedings happening down there. Of course, as I mentioned, the parties are now heading to Lancaster House, where discussions are going to be held. And of course, as you can see from the strap across your screen, President Ramaphosa is also expected to speak to the Houses of Parliament, that is the House of Commons and the House of Lords, a little bit later. And later on, of course, it's going to be entertained at the state banquet, where there's going to be nice food for him to enjoy. And of course, critically, the importance of this state visit is that both countries want to further engage and improve bilateral relations, particularly on the trade front. We know that the United Kingdom does need to ensure that it reaches out to as many countries as possible in terms of trade relations following its decision to leave the European Union. Of course, we term that Brexit. Many people saying that that has cost them dearly in terms of their GDP. So they'll be looking to ensure that they have firm trade relations with the likes of South Africa and other countries around the world. And hence, this is a very important meeting. They're one of the funders of the recently announced Just Energy Transition, where a significant amount of money has been given, is going to be given to South Africa to help us go through that Just Energy Transition program, where we invest in a more carbon neutral footprint, and a whole load of other partnerships and discussions that are going to be taking place between the South African government and the UK government. Already, as I mentioned, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is also there, and other government officials. My colleague Mzwandile Mbeje is on the ground, and as soon as we can, we'll be speaking to him about his observations on the ground there. All right. right, it seems as though Mzwandile Mbeje is available to speak to us. Mzwandile, amazing pomp and ceremony, and the Horse Guard played the South African national anthem so very beautifully. Your observations?
Well, Nombu, indeed, it was quite a moment to witness. You know, the Brits, when it comes to pageantry, I think no one does it better than they do. So they've just done that, and the King, warmly welcoming the President, and of course the President seemed very excited about what has been happening. So beyond this now, it's going to be serious talks. But before that, I think they are still continuing. As you have seen that they have gone to Buckingham Palace now, where also they're still going to be doing, you know, some of the optics of the state visit before they really get down to business. And it's not necessarily the King that will be doing the serious talk in terms of trade and investment, but it will be the government leaders. We know that later today, the President will address Parliament, both houses of Parliament, so laying out the vision of South Africa, how and what he wants to achieve as he undertakes this important visit, Nombo.
So it's very interesting to see from the program that the royal party is going to be showing the president some of the artifacts that they have that relate to South Africa. And of course, we know, given the history, that they'll have a lot of things there that come from South Africa, that some people would want to come back to the country.
Oh yes, certainly that will be the talk. In many quarters, they'll be basically saying, well, we know that at some point, because of the past relations, you got to get this, we've got to have this back. But I know, on a serious note, Nombu, I think that's what's going to happen because people are really interested in the kind of relations and the history between these two countries. What exactly is being displayed there? Unfortunately, we'll not be able to be there to see. We'll just get to hear them say they've taught. And of course, based on that, I'm sure the President will have a view about it.
Indeed. Mzwandile, what about the issue? We talk about trade relations and improving those, but there was once upon a time where it was easier for South Africans to go into the United Kingdom. Do you think that's also going to be something that's on the agenda? I mean, just recently we heard, for example, that between South Africa and Kenya, it was easier for South Africans to go into Kenya and not so easy for Kenyans to come into South Africa, but that is going to change very shortly. So what about that kind of conversation? Can we expect that as well?
Well, it's not part of the agenda items that we know about, but from the history and from what we know in the past, because this matter has been raised in the past, to say we have a huge number of British visitors to our country, and South Africa would also like to come to Britain quite hugely as well to come and explore the country, but it's very, very difficult. But one of the areas or one of the issues that the Brits have raised was that our systems were somehow lax. You'd remember that some of the reasons really that occasioned this kind of no free pass was, I think, the discovery of a huge number of our IDs or passports which had been manufactured by some of the people to come to Britain, and then they felt that it posed a security challenge, and then they said, I know that is the discussion that had been happening in the past, they said until that is fixed, until they are assured that South Africa has got strong measures to make sure that no one really slips through who is undesirable, perhaps the discussion could be reopened.
Yeah. So we know that the United Kingdom used to spend about 0.7% of its budget on what they call overseas development funding or something like that. But that's now moved down to 0.5%. We know that country has issues of its own right now, economically speaking. Is it a situation that gone are the days where, you know, we're going there with a begging bowl, but we want to try and forge relations where it's a win-win for both sides and no one is looking for charity, so to speak?
I think the fact, Nombu, that we have been invited as the first country to visit this country tells you that this is a relationship of partnership, this is a relationship of equality, this is a relationship that seeks to benefit both countries. We are not here to beg, we are here to explain our opportunities, and they also will explain to us what is it that they need to ask. So obviously we understand they are the first world country, they are much more developed than us, but of course we've got so much that we can offer them. In fact, earlier we did speak to the presidential spokesperson who said there are a number of areas that will be explored between these two countries in terms of trade, because at the end of the day it's not just about pageantry, it's about what exactly is shared between these two countries. Yes, we have good relations. Yes, we have similar type of culture in many aspects, but in terms of who gets what, in terms of building the prosperity of both countries, it will be at the center. That is why tomorrow, Nompu, the focus will shift to 10 Downing Street. When we talk about 10 Downing Street, we're talking about what would be the equivalent of union buildings. So, which means we are engaging government leaders as South Africa, where now we start to speak about actual issues of trade and, of course, the business. The business will also have the opportunity to engage their counterparts interfacing with government, because at the end of the day, that is what must come out of this.
Absolutely. Mzwandile, I'm going to leave you there. Thank you very much for speaking to us at this hour. That's my colleague Mzwandile Mbeje reporting from London. Of course, the pomp and ceremony continues there at Buckingham